Matt Smith laments trigger warnings for telling audiences how to feel.
Yeah.
A lot of people are lamenting trigger warnings. In fact, many people now think it was the first step towards censorship. Some people who agreed with them at the time are not agreeing with it now. Isn't being shocked, surprised, stirred at the point the House of the Dragon star poses. Matt Smith is worried that everything's being dialed and dumbed down in the entertainment world because of the rise of trigger warnings. Speaking to the Times of London, the House of the Dragon star lamented at how trigger warnings are keeping the audience from having a visceral, unexpected reactions to being shocked, surprised, stirred, which he thinks is the whole point of stories. It's okay to feel uncomfortable or provoked while looking at a painting or watching a play, but I worry everything's being dialed and dumbed down, Smith said. We're telling audience they're going to be scared before they've watched something. He continued, isn't being shocked, surprised, stirred the point? Too much policing of stories and being afraid to bring them out because a climate is a certain way is a shame. I'm not sure I'm on board with trigger warnings. Smith then recalled growing up and watching movies that, while perhaps inappropriate for his age, left a lasting impact on him. I used to go to a local video shop and get Slither Basic Instinct Disclosure on those erotic thrillers. I was way too young to be watching them, he shared. I watched Friday the 13th when I was 9. Actually, that scarred me, absolutely ruined me. Did Friday the 13th ruin you? I think you had a story about that, didn't you? But
I wouldn't say it ruined me, but it had a direct impact on me. And I think we've talked about that before. I'll have to do another watch party in the future and talk about that a little bit more.
I was saying, bring erotic thrillers back and cast Dakota Johnson. I think that's where she needs to be right now. But that's just my.
Well, make sure you get the right artist to CG in her merkin.
Prefacing an episode of television, a movie, or a piece of theater is with a trigger warning is a practice that gained popularity in recent years to warn audience off of specific content that will be a part of the piece that might be particularly disturbing. Trigger warnings tend to be more specific than the usual parental guideline warning seen before most movies and TV. Commonly warn of domestic or sexual violence, among other things. Smith isn't the first actor to comment on the growing alliance of trigger warnings. Ralph Fiennes broached the subject back in February and came to a similar conclusion about the practice, stopping the audience from being shocked or surprised. I think we didn't used to have trigger warnings, he said. I mean, there are very disturbing scenes like Macbeth, terrible murders and things, but I think the impact of theater should be that you are shocked and you should be disturbed. I forgot to bring up a point to you. They're not just talking about movies. They're talking about theatrical productions too.
Yes.
I remember there's a play called The Foreigner, which is a brilliant comedic play that also takes target at bigotry. Because let's just say a certain 3-letter organization from the South it shows up in the movie, in the play. Yeah. But it's done in a humorous way, and also to point out how, prejudice is kind of stupid, and it's doing it in a right way. But then they had a trigger warning. Oh, this play features scenes of men in white sheets and other things, and it might be. It's like, stop.
Well, and this really, really is the problem. What is that saying about, hard times make strong men make good times make weak men, weak men make hard times. And we are going out of our way to create weak, not just weak men, weak everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody is weak. Yeah. Everybody is fragile. And it's like, you need to get your crap together, people. You got to stop letting words hurt you. Okay. Yes. Show me the bones that those nasty words hurt. Show me the trauma you have from seeing a man in a white sheet that might not like people that are different from him.
Yes.
Right? Maybe get over yourself and your feelings and start doing something constructive to make this a better world.
Well, the constructive thing is the play. You know what the plot of the play The Foreigner is? there's a young man, and he's going on vacation with his friend, but his friend has to leave and leave him alone. You can't leave me here. I'm very shy. I won't be able to talk to anybody. He doesn't know what to do because he's really weird, afraid because he's gonna have to start socializing with other people in the hotel. And he says, "Look, I'll tell them you're from another country. You don't speak the language, okay? That way they won't." And so, as the play goes on, he like makes up fake foreign sounding words because he's the foreigner. And then eventually he starts speaking English words around them, but like in this weird accent. And they're all like, and a lot of the Southerners, they're all fascinated by him. Oh, where are you from? I want to hear about your country. You know, they're interested. They're not.
Now he's going to have to make shit up, right?
And then he's making stuff. And it's so funny because it's a brilliant performance by whoever has to do that main role. Because it's an American trying to be a foreigner who's learning English words. You understand?
Yeah.
He's too shy, and then like one of the guys in the neighborhood is a big and doesn't want. I don't know why you're all narrow by this guy. I don't like this guy because he's not from this country. You know, the usual thing.
Right.
It's a funny play because he says the only foreign words I know are Klaatu, Farad, and Niktu. He said, to the guy, because he's a science fiction writer. Right, but it's a good play. I recommend it. But they put trigger warnings at it at some university, and I'm like, don't. That's the point.
And it's getting so ridiculous that it's going to have to be. You're going to have to start putting a blanket trigger warning on everything. And I'd actually like to see this because it would be a form of satire. This book, movie, TV show, article may contain things that offend you. Because everything offends somebody at some point.
They have trigger warnings.
Be aware.
They have trigger warnings on Aladdin on the Disney Channel.
Of course.
A kids movie. Family movie. I think we didn't used to have trigger warnings. We disturbing. Okay. Fines continued. I don't think you should be prepared for these things. And when I was young, we never had trigger warnings for shows. Shakespeare's plays are full of a lot of murders, full of horror. As a young student and lover of theater, I never experienced trigger warnings telling me, by the way, in King Lear, Gloucester's going to have his eye pulled out. It's a shock, the unexpected. That's what makes an actor theater so exciting. Thanks for spoiling it for me.
There are a lot of great movies that, and actually some not so great movies, that have scenes that you just aren't expecting. And when it happens, it's like, oh, crap. There was possibly horror, possibly thriller, depending on how you evaluate it, called The Lodge. With what was that girl's name? She was clueless and then she went vegan.
Alicia Silverstone.
Yeah, Alicia Silverstone. And early in the movie, this is a spoiler for The Lodge, if you don't want to know about it, because this is an important story point early on. She finds out that her husband's cheating on her and he wants her to move out. And they're going to have to deal with, she's got 3 kids or whatever and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So she says, okay, we'll work this out. He leaves for work. The kids leave for school. She cleans the house top to bottom, sits down at her dining room table, has a glass of wine, takes a gun out of her purse, puts it in her mouth, sprays her brains all over the wall behind her. It is a shock because you do not see it coming, and it is so realistic. And it is like a gut punch.
Yes.
And I'm like, you don't put a trigger warning on that. You need to experience that or don't watch movies, period.
I remember there was an episode of Superman the Animated Series that was a gut punch too. I'm not going to say which episode that is, but I didn't see something coming because that's the point.
Netta's over here going, trigger warning, and she's doing the finger. I'm like, oh God, I didn't realize I'd said that. Good point, Netter.
Whatever happened to sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. I don't know. I'm telling you, everyone's too sensitive these days. Children are living shelter life. I mean, cut sugar cane. I hunted every day and boxed it in high school. These kids are fragile. Oh, I cut sugar cane. Oh, I see. Yeah, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to know where you're from that you did.
Troy, when it comes to my generation, we can handle Saving Private Ryan, Band of Brothers, and Full Metal Jacket. can't handle loud noise, let alone a bad word. How the hell do they watch movies?
You know, I'll tell you something. I know I've told this story before. I went to see Saving Private Ryan in the theater, and there was a lot of older gentlemen in the theater. And that opening scene, I could look down, you know, because it's a bright scene. It lights up the auditorium, and I'm looking and I'm seeing the looks on a lot of these men's faces, and it's like they're reliving this.
Yeah.
This really, and if you know the behind the scenes on Saving Private Ryan, Steven Spielberg interviewed survivors and not just, you know, it was Omaha, Juneau, all the different beaches. And they would describe a scene like, yeah, I remember my buddy, I don't know, Harry or whatever. And I looked down the beach and I saw him walking around just looking for something. And then he reached down and picked up an arm. And when he turned around, I saw it was his arm. Well, that scene is in the movie.
Yep.
And you realize all that shit you see in the movie is based on a story that somebody told. It might be a fictionalized version of it, but that really happened to someone somewhere.
Yeah, a lot of good men gave their lives that day. And
so maybe toughen up, people.
Yeah.
The stuff you're seeing in the movies really happened to somebody if you watch those kinds of movies. If you're watching a bunch of fictional shit that didn't happen to anyone ever, and you're bitching about, you know, whether or not orcs are being treated right racially, fuck you. Get out in the real world and do something.
They have like sympathetic orc characters on that Amazon show, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. Orcs are monsters. They're
Orc
not.
lives matter.
Yeah,
they're